Satya Prakash, do you agree
Yes.
with what the Karnataka government has said? I mean, it is your government, but in the sense of what many would question that, listen, the state doesn't have a business to peep in. The state cannot regulate this.
See, Sneha, we need to understand that today the business of C-section has become a menace. Today, as our Dr. Sabarwal and even Mr. Mishra was telling, that why do we do a C-section? We do a C-section if there is any threat to the mother or the child. And this includes, there is a procedure involved. There is involved of, giving, taking the patient to the operation theater. There is a procedure, surgical procedure involved. Why should we put the mother and the child under undue risk of a procedure where they will give, sedative things, when you are doing the procedure? So what Mr. Gundurao, our health minister, has said is, we will do an audit. How can all the hospitals, especially the private hospitals, have 85 to 90% and most of them being cesarean? It is impossible when the government hospitals are doing it at 25 or 30%. How can the private hospitals have 80 to 85%? Here, any child born under normal delivery, he will have better health in the coming future. Today's children are going to be nation's future. Keeping this in mind, the Karnataka government has said we will do an audit and look at the national average. The national average of C-section
Mr. Satya
is
Prakash, if
26%,
that is really a
while
science that can be
Karnataka is
established that children
46%.
born.
Sneha, we need to understand that forget childbirth for the time being. If it was any other operation, if you were supposed to go to an operation or I was supposed to go to a surgical procedure, we will think twice, thrice before we go into the operation theater. There is a huge amount of risk involved in a surgical procedure. There is a chance that, either there will be a problem for the mother or the child. Now, what this law will do, if at all, whenever we bring the policy changes, we will do an audit and the doctor has to have some proofs as to why he went and did a cesarean operation. If it is going to be a monetary consideration, that is where our health minister have said we have to bring laws in place that this sort of abuse of the process should not be allowed. How can you expect 80 to 90% of all the cases that go into the private hospitals to get into the operation theater? How can it be? Let us take the biggest hospitals like, the big specialty government hospitals. Are there 80 to 90% cesarean operations being made? No. And most of these doctors in these private hospitals get their PG done in AIIMS and big government hospitals. How is it that those hospitals are having cesarean only to 30 to 35%? And how is it these private hospitals are having 80 to 90%? This is where the nexus comes. This is where the pressure on, I don't blame the doctors. I blame the management. They are being pressurized to have more billing. When there is pressure on them for more billing, these sort of things will happen.
Dr.
That is
Malvika?
where every government should proactively act so that in the interest of the mother and the child, a legislation should be brought where there is an audit that has been done. My experience suggests that C-sections happen more because of two things. One is that Muhurt one which they said. In case of that, the doctor should go for counseling the patient. That, Muhurtam se kuch nahi hone wala. The health of the mother and children is very important. That is on one side. Lot of counseling to the mother and the family of the mother. Point number one. Second thing is there is a nexus with these cashless insurance companies being there of overbilling. And when can you do overbilling? You can do overbilling only when the customer, the mother gets into the operation theater. So if you stop mother getting into the operation theater, cesarean is not necessary. And this insurance nexus between the insurance companies and the health hospitals, this nexus should be brought down. Counseling should be given to mothers in cases of, all these blind faiths. There should not be any, space for that in today's science.